from a galaxy far, far away.
And a bookshelf straight out of the 90s.
From Thrawn to Dantooine
And everything in between. This is Legends Look Back.
It is time for the show. We have got a Legends classic, a masterpiece, if you will. I don't actually know what we've got it rated as on YOUTINI.com. Probably up there, you know. Most likely incredible. However, an absolute Legends staple that is... What is this book? The Krytos Trap. There we go. By Michael A. Stackpole. An amazing book we're very excited to talk about tonight. And earlier in the week, I always have to do this, so we're getting ready for our episodes. Check in with everybody. Make sure, the reading's going okay. Life happens. And I want to make sure that I don't, make Freddie do the thing where he reads the first chapter and then reads the last chapter and then the second to first chapter and then, don't want to put them under a huge time crunch. So I try to check in. Say, how are we doing? Getting those pages read? And Emily tells me, yeah, I'm on track to finish. However, I'm doing something a little out of the ordinary, which prompted the notes in the cold open tonight. Simply say this. Emily reads books like a psychopath. So, without further ado, Emily's going to tell you why I say she reads books like a psychopath. Which I've misspelled, I'm realizing.
So I decided that I needed to have a bit more background. So I decided to read Wedge's Gamble at the same time as the Krytos Trap because I didn't have enough time to read Wedge's Gamble first and then Krytos Trap. So I am currently 50% of the way through Wedge's Gamble and 100% of the way through Krytos Trap, and I kind of found it really fun.
Interesting.
I know it's kind of like one of those shows where it jumps, what happens at the end. But then it jumps back and you don't know how it got there. I thought it was really fun.
I thought you were listening to Wedge's Gamble in one ear and Krytos Trap in the other.
No. That's only Corran Horn would enjoy that much Corran Horn.
That's true.
It is a lot of Corran Horn. I will say that. However, I feel like the Krytos Trap Corran Horn is more appealing than the Wedge's Gamble one. I just got...
You mean the one where we assume he's dead half the book?
I guess. That's
they have
very
to brainwash.
Good point, actually.
He's in the middle of being brainwashed and his memories are coming back to him. And well, you might be onto something. If you are doing a Legends reread and you know what's going to happen, just kind of play around with the structure a little bit and build in some flashbacks that weren't there, in the original... rendition of the story.
Well, it was so great because I got Rogue Squadron, and then all of a sudden Corran's dead, and I'm just thinking, how did that happen? That just really came out of left field. I have no idea how we got here. And then over time, I was like, wait a minute, he's how can he be such a prominent character in Legends if he's already dead? There's a lot. I never knew how he became a Jedi, because you guys always talk about that, and. I don't know. There were a lot of answered
by the
questions.
way, for the X-Wing series.
Okay, whatever. If you're here, you would expect spoilers. In my opinion, if you click on a Roundtable book, read the book. Am I right, Jared?
Yeah.
Well, what?
Okay, listen. In the 100 and 3 episodes of this show, once, twice, 3 times ever have I not actually finished the reread of the book. I've never gone to an episode knowing nothing about the book because... It's, I've read these before.
Okay.
Very rarely have I actually had to read the book for the first... Yeah, hey, she's outed me. I didn't finish it. All right, I'm 150 pages in. I've read it before. I know what happens, mostly. Yeah. I don't exactly know how Corran, escapes, but
that's the
I
cool
will next
thing.
week. What?
That's the cool part, right? The more you... or I don't know. I've probably read this book 5 times. I can't even count how many times I've read it. And I still... when I go back into it, I'm like, wait... How did this happen again?
It's amazing. It's such an action-packed book. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
We'll give our full reviews here in a second.
Yeah.
However, Emily, we'll call it unconventional reading method for
psychopath method.
tonight's
I'm okay with that.
episode. It does prompt this question that I had earlier today, which is, what is the most unusual method you have ever employed in reading a Star Wars book?
That I've ever employed?
Yeah, so this is really odd to read 2 books at the exact same time, back and forth, especially books that are contingent one upon the other.
This
so
is
book 2 and book 3 of a series.
Yeah.
That's odd.
I will say, usually I do have 2 books going on. If I'm in like a Star Wars books mood, then I'll have an audiobook and an ebook of the same, like not the same thing. It'll be 2 different books.
Yeah.
This one
I
was
typically
pretty
do that.
strange. I got a little bit confused part of the way through. Part of that is because I read a lot on my phone in the middle of the night when I can't sleep. So part of it is like sleepless days. And then the other part of it is like, wait, did I listen to this? Or like, I thought that this happened, but maybe that was in
especially
the
when
other
Corran's
book.
having like his fever dreams. That's got to be,
Yeah,
you know,
that was-
the flashbacks of,
Yeah.
yeah.
It got
definitely.
hairy for sure.
Okay, Rick, Freddie, do you have like one instance in particular that stands out to you as
Many.
a very odd way of having... Okay, Freddie's got some.
Yeah, and I think this lends itself to the early days of Legends Look Back when Jared had the idea to read a book a week.
The gumption.
The gumption. That's so funny. I was thinking about the word Forrest Gump earlier too, so there we go. Work that into the podcast.
Legends is like a box of chocolates.
Yeah, there you go. Reading, the first 10 chapters and then reading the last 10 chapters and then kind of going back and forth between chapter 11 and then maybe like chapter 22 and then chapter 12 just to work my way through to the middle. At least I know the beginning, the end, and the stuff in the middle I've read at one point. I might remember. But that's definitely weird to me. I mean, that's very psychotic as well.
You guys are weird, man.
Rick, come on now.
I don't think I've ever done anything like that. Like the most bizarre thing I've done is crank up the audiobook speed to like 2.5, and yeah. But most of the time I read like digital or print with an audiobook because I like hearing it and seeing it at the same time. That's my favorite way to read. The weirdest other than that is like, I'll read it on the Kindle and the paperback and listen to it. Like that's the most bizarre. But I always read linear. I've never skipped around in a series, at least not intentionally. Now I kind of want to try. Like, what's a good series just to like jump in the middle of? Like, how about New Jedi Order? Can I just like jump in the middle of that?
That'd be a great one to try.
I bet
that would be.
I will say
I don't
did
know that
this
I would
with,
recommend it. I'm too much of a rule follower. Go ahead, Emily.
No. So I tried this once in college for the Hunger Games series. I read the first one and it was amazing, but my friend had the second one and it was like, 9 p.m. when I finished the first. So it's like too early in the night to stop reading and I had to know what happened next. But I only had the third one. I didn't have the second one and she was like off on some break. So like it would be days. And I couldn't wait that long.
Have you heard of the library?
Yeah.
It was 9:00, Jared. The library was
College
closed.
libraries
It was
are
9
open
p.m.,
at 9
Jared.
o'clock.
I need to read.
I need it.
Literacy doesn't sleep, okay?
Also, there was a long hold for all the ebook versions. And I think this was before I started reading a lot of ebooks. For a while, I was a really big paper book fan. But, just convenience
I'm still
wins
a
out.
paper book fan.
Yeah. I mean, if I had
Very much so.
time, absolutely. But I just don't have time with 2 kids. Plus, when you're traveling, Kindle, super small, fits in anything.
So
And
this
it's
is an
super
interesting
light.
thing.
Go ahead,
The last time I read Truce at Bakura from front to back without doing it weird like I have, it's probably been like 10 years since I've read it. So that means if I read it again, which is going to be soon, that counts for my book reads, huh?
Ooh.
If it's been like a while, then yeah.
We've got a great one here in the chat from Anakin Solo. This is truly bonkers. And now that I'm at the end of my Legends read through, I guess I could turn around and do it this way.
Oh, yeah.
I won't. Let me be very clear. I'm not about to try to tackle all these books again. However, this would be a really fun experiment. He says, I once read the EU backwards from Fate of the Jedi to Dawn of the Jedi, and holy cow, if that's not the coolest thing I've ever heard.
I so
Congratulations.
wanna do that.
Well done. Absolutely love that. I'm trying to think,
awesome.
I've got a couple of like memorable Legends experience, or Star Wars book experiences that I've never had before. Like the camp where my in-laws work up in Maine, I mowed the entire camp. It took me like 3 days, which is huge property, on their brand new bad boy,
Was it a
full tilt
zero
boogie.
turn?
What do you call those? Yeah, zero turn. I call them full tilt boogies.
They're riding
the
lawnmower.
The same thing. Same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was listening to one of the Alphabet Squadron books, so that's canon. So,
Mhm.
but listening to a Starfighter book while
That
driving a
sounds like
mower around
so-
as fast as you can was very fun.
Yeah.
you know what's
that's
funny?
Good.
So being from California and Arizona and basically the West Coast, I was totally lost when you were talking about full tilt boogie. I was like, I don't know what he's talking about.
You don't
We
say full
have
tilt
grass.
boogie in California? Oh,
I've never heard of
Grass.
that. Oh yeah, that's true. It's just like rocks.
wow.
Man,
Now,
that's cool.
I've got another one. Oh, I've got some audiobooks saved in Google Drive. How did they end up there? Long story. They're all obtained above board, I can assure you.
Okay.
All right.
Mm.
I pay for all my books. But I've got a bunch of them because you never know when the internet's going to straight up yank them away. If you're
You never know.
paying. Yeah,
Yank
this has
them
happened to
away.
me. I've lost a book or two. I think I'm missing some Legends comics since the Comixology split. Since
Uh-oh.
Amazon messed all that up, I think I'm missing some, which is a problem for another day. But sometimes I have trouble getting the files back in the right order once I re-download them. So, especially like my current listen
Yes.
through of
Uh-huh.
the Krytos Trap, my files are out of order. So it'll be like
Yeah.
chapter 13, and I'll get to the end of it, and then it'll go straight up into chapter 19. And I'm like, wait a second. Hold up. What is happening? Especially because I've read these before. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I know what happens here. And this is when there's the court scene. And then all of a sudden I realize that's not where I'm at in the book. And you got to pull the bicycle over, turn off the lawnmower. You gotta,
Oh, yeah.
That's so
it's a whole thing.
confusing.
So, however, Emily,
Yeah.
I think tonight the award certainly goes to you reading
you.
two of the books at the exact same time.
Highly recommend. If you haven't read either yet,
Not a chance.
I mean, it's kind of
Not
fun.
happening.
Well, we are going to talk about this in a little bit more of a well-organized fashion tonight, talking about all the characters in... What is this one? Yeah, here we go. The Krytos Trap. See if I can stop doing that. And so, without further ado, Rick, let's light those engines. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Look Back. Proudly part of the YOUTINI Podcast Network. This is a Star Wars books podcast for people whose VHS collections rival the Jedi Temple archives, where we celebrate our rich EU history as well as dive into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and I'm joined by my legendary co-hosts, Freddie C.
Hello, everyone. Speaking of VHSs, those giant China display cases, head to toe, full of China. Well, I probably have about 8 of those filled with VHSs of all types.
What?
Yes.
Nice.
So what we used to do is
Nice.
back in the day, we would just go to like a Goodwill or some kind of thrift shop and just scoop up any VHS that was not on our list. And what my family did was just try to collect as many as possible. So there's some weirdos,
Nice.
some weirdo VHS movies in there. I'd have to find.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm
Wow.
so intrigued.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Doing 103 episodes with Freddie C. and had no idea about that. You know who I've also done a lot of episodes with, but not 103 of them, is Emily Daybeck. How are you? Other way. Yeah, there she is. Emily Daybeck.
Hello. I'm here, and apparently a psychopath. Stay tuned for
Hey.
more.
No, you're not a psychopath. It's just
No, it's an
This time.
unusual reading technique for sure. But I mean, the race to the finish is real. I'm very competitive. And I didn't realize I was in the game until it was too late to get out. So here I am, once again.
you
Torn
mean
into
you
pieces.
didn't realize you were in the game until you were winning.
Yeah.
That's
I don't know what
the funny
happened.
part.
It's so crazy.
Tyler checks in with me every few weeks, and he's like, "I finished another book. Is Emily still winning?" And I say, "Yeah, I think so."
I don't
Also,
know. I don't keep count.
Every time he messages me, I'm like, "Yeah, by the way, I'm stuck again." And let me tell you, choose a better method than I chose in terms of which Legends books you're going to read and in what order, because
Ooh,
saving the bottom of the barrel for last, not the best idea if you ever want to finish. Especially if you challenge your friends to a competition. One of those friends we've challenged to a competition is Rick Grace. How are you, Rick?
Hello, hello, I'm good. If you hear me yelling at Tycho, it's not just expletives at Tycho Selchu from the book we're talking about. It is because I named my puppy dog that.
That's so
and
cool.
so he's running
That's the
around.
best.
And he's kind of disruptive and he's barky right now. But so yeah, I'm good though. So ignore any not expletives, but what's the word? Exclamations, I guess.
There you
Yeah,
go.
no expletives on this show. It's
No,
a family-friendly
no
show,
expletives.
Rick.
That's
Family-friendly
right.
show.
It's PG-13, I'd say, for sure.
Yeah.
It's gotten more PG-13 with all the references to naked palps, but
Oh, that's fair.
we've had very relatively few
Hide your
swears
Yeah.
in the overall scope of the show, have we not?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it is a family-friendly show, I think.
Yeah.
Dake Ferrick, you bet we have.
Kids love being naked. It's fine. Naked is just a fact of life. I feel like that's still PG.
Makes kids laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, moving on from that one.
Hold on. Okay, unrelated, but I have to follow up on Freddy's Goodwill thing. My routine when I go to a Goodwill, what the one? I guess it's one. Check for Star Wars books and see what they have because
Yes.
they might have one. You
Yes.
never know.
Yes.
Sometimes they do.
Mhm.
And then second is count how many VHS sets of the Titanic they have because it's always more than one, and it's always fun.
Really?
So true. Rick,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Oh, y'all.
It's-
Hold on. You go,
go
Freddie.
ahead, Emily. All right. Well, so I was going to say that's exactly what I do when I go to a thrift store. It's like immediately Star Wars things. Let's just go look for all the Star Wars things. And then I notice when I look in the VHS, because I always look for Star Wars VHS, there's at least 2 minimum Titanics.
I have never noticed that, and I thrift a lot. But I will
That's all you're gonna
say,
see from now on.
my Christmas tradition is I set up my Christmas tree by myself watching the Titanic, and for a long time, it was the VHS version. I don't know why. This is just what I do. And I would only watch the first tape because that's where everyone's alive. And so after that's done, I just kind of put it away and rewind
All
it
right,
for
somebody
next year.
message Oz. We're clipping that one. That one's going up on the YouTube for sure.
Wait, what was so good
First
about
of all,
that?
now I'm like, we got to talk about our Christmas traditions because mine is
Oh, man.
the exact opposite. We listen to NSYNC Christmas with
And we only watched the
with the-
second VHS.
with the family. No. Passing the ship on over to you. No, the thing that... All right, Rick, you remember you and I went to that thrift store and we found a literal crate full of Twilight books. I call it the
Oh, yeah.
Twilight Graveyard.
Yeah.
When you go thrifting, Emily, next time, after you have sunk the Titanic, look for Twilight. I guarantee you there
Oh, yeah.
there
that's
is a
definitely the
Twilight
same.
book.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You could actually probably squeeze a Twilight book up inside a VHS case of the Titanic.
Ooh. It's possible. I also want to see how cheaply I can get all the Left Behind books because they're also at thrift stores in abundance.
Yeah. They've been left behind.
Oh,
Well,
man.
you guys are going to leave me behind for the crazy mood I'm in tonight.
Alright.
We've got some fun stuff to talk about here with an Absolute Legends classic, and we will do so while watching Titanic and listening to NSYNC. But for tonight, just a few things to get into.
Merry Christmas.
I love that
Merry
song.
Christmas.
The World of Legends got a few little news items tonight. They could not wait for a news-specific show they had to happen here tonight, and that is something really odd, really bizarre. Speaking of VHS tapes, Rick, do we have the image? Knights of the Old Republic
So
is
interesting.
getting a limited run games VHS cover
What?
collectible.
Isn't that
item
insane?
Mhm.
This is going to be only available, a convention exclusive at PAX West this weekend. So, if any of our listeners going to PAX West and interested in a little bit of black market credits, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Let Jared
Okay.
and me know.
Yeah, that's right. This is so odd. What's your take on this, Freddie?
This is weird to me because, okay, so the game that predates Star Wars The Old Republic, the MMO, is Star Wars Galaxies. And there we go. Everyone with your toothpick holders with fluids in it, you can go ahead and take that. But I never recall VHS even being around during this time. So it's kind of like, I mean,
It's
not that
certainly
old.
on the way out.
Mm.
This is 2003. The last VHS I bought, y'all are going to love this, was The Phantom Menace. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That was the last VHS I bought. It's the only prequel that I own on VHS.
Mm-hmm.
I used to own a black market copy of Attack of the Clones, but I don't anymore. That's a long story. But yeah, the only one that I own officially. So it's definitely the tail end. Also, it's not a movie. It's a video game. But I love Knights of the Old Republic that much that I would just want this extremely rare, extremely specifically odd collectible.
You know, I remember when VHS came out, and I just thought, man, that's not going to last. No, not VHS, DVDs. I was just like, what a waste of money. Like, how sad that like people are going to spend all this money. Like, we're obviously never switching from the VHS. It's a perfect solution.
You know,
like, who doesn't want to rewind the movie immediately after you finish watching it?
Be kind. Rewind.
I'm thinking about having my wife like hand letter a really nice, you know, those signs that say like gather in a really scripty font.
Yes.
I want one hanging above my TV that says "Be kind, rewind."
Oh,
I think I'm
love
gonna.
it.
I think I'm gonna pull the trigger on it.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I like that.
You're about to say something, Freddie.
Yeah, I lost it.
That's fine. That's fine. All right, moving on. So that's very cool. Anybody picking this up, let us know. Even if you're not looking to sell an extra copy, we'd love to celebrate with you. Very cool. Very rare. I'm sure it's going to be an expensive collectible one of these days.
Yeah.
Also, a couple of fun little tidbits here to members of the community and to the Star Wars Legends universe at large. Happy 71st birthday to Timothy Zahn. I found this out in the Discord today. Had to give the absolute GOAT a shout out.
Mm-hmm.
Or should I call him the Goat if he was a clone?
So good.
Did he invent that naming convention of the extra letter? I think it's a Zahn thing, right?
I mean, it has to be.
Yeah. Well, you heard it here first, folks. Okay, and then from our community, our buddy Bro Dameron over in the Discord. Speaking of the Legends Race to the Finish, he started his race to the finish 2.5 years ago, but he has finished his Legends read through,
That's amazing.
which we've been following along with book by book, piece by piece for the last 2.5 years. Huge congratulations to Bro Dameron. Finished with Dawn of the Jedi. Freddie, you feeling jealous?
You know what? I just messaged him right now that he's not my friend anymore. So, no, this is awesome. I mean, anybody who finishes Legends, to me, that's a huge feat. That's roughly what, Jared? How many books is that?
If the adult novels is in the 200 range.
Yeah, it's like 230 something maybe. For some reason, that number sticks in my head, but I could be totally wrong.
The amount of times I've counted this and forgotten this is staggering.
Yeah, it's true.
That's like 264, 2-something-4.
Coming up next week.
Yeah.
That can't be right. It's fewer than that. It's fewer than that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
Because I've read all the
that's
canon
great.
books too, and I'm at right about 300 books. We'll get a number another week. We're not great at math. We're great at legends. So we're gonna do the Legends thing tonight. So absolutely huge congratulations. So without further ado, we're going to get into it. Krytos Trap. Here we are. This is our spoiler warning in case we haven't spoiled things enough for you already. This is your last warning. Turn back now. Or Tycho, no, who is it that, Corran Horn will shoot you down. Because Tycho flies the shit without the guns. That's what you got to remember. Okay, here we go. The book opens at the funeral of Corran Horn. If only, right? He's not actually dead. We're going to learn that out. Because, as it turns out, he is deep in enemy territory, imprisoned on the super Star Destroyer Lusankia. Lusankia, I hardly knew you. He's being brainwashed into an Imperial TIE pilot, but Corran Horn is too smart for that. And eventually, with the help of his friend Jan, who turns out to be Rebellion General Jan Dodonna, gets out of Dodge. And by Dodge, I do mean that I don't 100% remember exactly how he escapes because I've not quite finished the read-through. So filling us in from here at this point, picking up the slack for me, is Emily Daybeck.
Yes, the mission to liberate Coruscant, the symbolic hub of the galaxy, is a ticking time bomb of disease and death. The gist of it is it melts aliens. New Republic leaders are bioengineering a solution, but partisan politics and the suspicion of anti-speciesism stands in the way. Meanwhile, we have the trial of Imperial pilot turned rogue Tycho Selchu, also Rick's dog. With fellow rogue pilot and Twi'lek lawyer Nawara Ben in his defense, they must prove his innocence of betraying the New Republic. What?
The note says
Nawara Ben?
It auto-corrected to Nawara Ben for the B.
I meant to say something earlier, but I forgot, so I chortled right there because I noticed it way earlier.
I found an actual typo on the YOUTINI website today where it had auto-corrected from
There are a
Nawara
lot of names.
Ben to Nawara Ben.
Lots of consonants over here. All right.
Sorry, Emily. Continue.
So it takes countless alien lives on the planet of Coruscant, as well as the honor of Rogue Squadron itself. Corran interrupts the trial. Tycho wasn't the spy after all. If that wasn't enough shocking twist for you, it turns out that the Lusankia prison was in fact Izard's super star destroyer buried beneath the surface of Coruscant, which blasted off like Team Rocket. Izard escapes to Thyfera to sit on her big fat pile of Bacta. Plus, the part about Wedge's romance with Ayala, whose dead husband came back to life, but he was an Imperial sleeper agent, so Wedge is in the clear, but more about that later.
Wow, well done. At this point, we are going to go around the horn and give our ratings. And apparently, Freddie's ready to rate this one a #1 New York Times best smeller because he's got an ancient copy of the Krytos Trap over there. I got my new bad boy over here. Doesn't even have creases in the spine yet.
Both beautiful.
Listen to the audiobook. Yeah, beautiful in their own way. That's right.
Yeah.
What's crazy is these eyeballs. All right, ready, Freddie. What's your rating here of the Krytos Trap? We've got 5 possible scores: masterpiece, incredible, good, fair, and mediocre, and 5 categories: plot, originality, writing style, characters, and entertainment.
So first of all, I'm going to talk about this book. Right, this is actually the first time for this episode that I've listened to the audiobook, and I didn't know it was pronounced Jinja this whole time.
It's not. I've got a bone to pick with that.
Yeah, me too. Just like Rankers and Jinja.
Jinja.
Yeah. So this book here has Shadows of the Empire snippet, Chusa Bakura. Of course, it has a snippet of Rogue Squadron and Wedge's Gamble. Courtship of Princess Leia. I mean, it's got quite a bit in here. It's kind of fantastic to see this again, and this is always my favorite part of these old books, where you can order it from the back pages and then send it in.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I love it.
You should give it a try, Freddie.
Yeah,
I wanted to. Yeah.
Hold on, how much is X-Wing? $22? No, it was $5.99. Cool. So anyway,
wow,
$5.99.
Yeah,
Man.
I like this book, but I don't know if I like it as much as #2, Wedge's Gamble, because there's just a lot of action happening there. I mean, there's a lot of action in this book too. It doesn't sell itself short. It's incredible. I would say it's incredible. Masterpiece. I honestly feel like Wedge's Gamble would take a masterpiece versus this book. To me, it's the one that really starts jumping into the action, because you've got the first one, which is a long drawn out version of introductions and making
kind of introduces the characters. Yeah,
it gives you investment, which it needs. And this and of course Wedge's Gamble is like, all right, time for the action. Here we go. Right. That to me feels very Top Gun versus the first one, because it's Top Gun. It's a movie. It's 2 hours.
Definitely Top Gun.
Yeah, totally Top Gun, and I'm so into it. To me, that's a masterpiece. This one,
I feel like
is there let's see, what would it be? Masterable?
Incredible piece.
Masterable?
Masterable.
Master credible.
Yeah.
Man credible? No, we don't want that.
It's going to get awkward really quickly.
Yeah. Anyway, this book is right in between, but if I had to give it, it would be incredible. It's a great book. If you're listening to the audiobook, it's going to throw you right into the cockpit. That's what I feel like, at least. Especially if you have your eyes closed or you're working out. I listened to this book working out, and it really pushed me into that, like, in those moments when I needed to do that last squat. Oh goodness, it worked.
Yeah, nothing like those lawsuit scenes to really get the squats pumping. Am I right?
Yeah. So that's the thing, though. There's a section of this book that just kind of draws out, but it's like, I mean, you have to see it. It's just like seeing the politics in Star Wars. The ones that appreciate it more are going to be the ones that understand it. And really, battles are born from political discourse, and you need to see how the war started. And just like this, right? We've got someone who's being blamed for something that's not that they're not guilty of, but it's like all the politicians get involved, and you're just like, no, we gotta, just like Wedge, we gotta do what we gotta do here. We just can't lie and make up these things. But the plot style is great. If you're not into like quick paced books or slow paced, court scenes, this might not be for you.
I think the court scenes are some of the best in the book.
It is, honestly, it really is. It I don't know if that's what court is like. Thankfully, I don't have to be in court.
Yeah, it's a very 90s like court.
Yeah.
Objection, overruled, sustained.
Just the
It's
facts.
so
A whole lot of
right.
that. Yeah,
And it turns out the murder never happened. Yeah, it's very
bust
90s,
through the back
yeah.
door. I'm Corran Horn, and I'm here to solve a murder.
Yeah, and of course the characters are great, right? We've got like a Bothan spy who, we're not sure what she's gonna do, and she does exactly what we would hope, and that's the whole point of this book, right? It's fantastic. I love it. It's incredible. I like it. It's necessary for the series. I'll say that.
Great review there from Freddie. Calls it incredible, and mostly agree with him. Yeah. All right. How about y'all?
I mean, I think it's a masterpiece, personally. I think it is probably one of the most original Legends books I've read, because it's just like, there's a plot twist around every single corner. There's like suspended disbelief as you're not sure if Tycho is legit or not, and you don't know if Corran's dead or not, and you don't know where Lusankya is. And then like just one by one, you're like, what is going on? These are like legit plot twists. I feel like we've seen it all at this point in entertainment, but going back and reading this, I'm like, a Star Destroyer in like embedded in Coruscant? What? And like the gravity is like the opposite of the way it should be? What? Like who even thinks about this stuff?
Yeah.
I thought it was entirely engaging. It was everything that I love about Legends, because there's rules, but like as long as you can justify it, you can get away with bending the rules.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. I can't wait to finish it. And I did not like Rogue Squadron. I thought that was pretty boring. And Wedge's Gamble is pretty good so far. I'm like halfway through, but I thought this was a masterpiece.
Yeah. Second half of Wedge's Gamble heats up, and this really pays off. I think absolutely. I remember absolutely loving it my first read through. And all those feelings as Emily began to describe, her doubt about Tycho, and did he do it? Did he not do it? And then the Lusankya coming up out of the ground, I was like, oh yeah, I remember what that felt like for sure. That was an amazing experience, and it might be the strongest of the 10-book series, depending on how we slice and dice the series. Honestly, it is ridiculous how many story arcs within the overall story there are. A masterpiece, though. Happy to hear that big
good.
step up for you from
Awesome.
from what somewhat disappointing experience with Rogue Squadron. Would you say?
I mean,
It's a character
comparatively,
builder.
yeah.
It's a
There are a
character builder.
lot of characters, and there are lots of different
Yeah.
species, and their names are really hard to keep straight, which I was going to say, please forgive me because I'm going to make mistakes in saying the
Yeah, at the
names
end of
this
the episode,
episode.
At the end of the episode, I want Emily to recite the entirety of Rogue
No.
Squadron after she's finished that drink over there. So,
Yeah, that's helpful.
all right. What, you got a list, Freddie?
Oh yeah.
That
It's
Dramatis
yeah.
Personae.
What?
Dramatis
Audiobook
Personae.
didn't have that.
Yeah. So
The
This is all the
Audible or the
characters.
Kindle does.
you've got them
I
separated.
don't think it's in the audiobook. Yeah. Okay.
you're right.
It is in the Essential Legends Collection version, though. There is a good Dramatis Personae. All right. Rick, your score.
Yeah. I'm somewhere in between Masterpiece and Incredible 2. My only complaint is there wasn't more like dogfight and like space battles. That's what I want to see in a X-Wing series book. But that being said, it was incredibly entertaining. Very well written. It was very exciting, like you guys have said. So there's tons in there that keeps the excitement going. I love the character development. The twists and turns, like you guys have said, were good. Kept me interested for sure. So I don't know. I might bump the score up after we're done talking about it. But I think right now it's like high incredible.
Yeah. I think, Rick, you hit it on the head. What you want to see in a Rogue Squadron book is, in my opinion, Wedge's gamble, right? That's why I feel like that book is high up there. It's all action all the time. I mean, it's clandestine work as well, which is really fun to see. And
especially the part where they're the Telboon and the...
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I just got past that part.
Yeah.
Like, it got a little weird.
A little dominatrix action going on in your Star Wars book. No big deal.
Yeah.
And it kind of gets you like... It's like high anxiety the whole time, because at any moment, something bad could happen in that book, and you really don't know when it's going to happen. And in this book, I feel like you have a fairly good idea of what's coming, but maybe not entirely sure. I feel like by this point we all know who the spy is, right? It's a little obvious. And then I would say the most important part, though, is honestly, I keep saying that they're slow, but the legal scenes. For Michael Stackpole to make these legal scenes action-packed is insane. Because even those scenes, they are slow, but they do, I mean, it gets you like... you hear the question, you know where it's going on the prosecutor side, and on the defense side, you're like, no, it's not right. Why are you doing this to my witness? You can feel that intensity and that anxiety in the courtroom, and it for Michael Stackpole to do that for something that we would all think is boring is pretty fantastic. So
yeah, it is like a space battle.
Yeah, it is.
But it's the back and forth, because Noir Vin like plots the trajectory of where he wants the argument to go and what he thinks that the defense, that what's the other side called? Prosecutor, right? What they're gonna do. Yeah, I'm really good at law stuff. Don't worry. Like he anticipates their strategy, and then when they flip the script, they start off with a different strategy. He talks about his brain tails are twitching. Can we talk about the brain tails for a second?
Oh yeah.
Moving on.
Yes.
Yeah. So we won't talk about the brain tails, but they're called brain tails, so that's cool. They twitch when he's nervous.
He even corrects them in the book. These are actually called leku. Like, that's the proper
That's
term.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I saw on the internet today that people put pool noodles on the horns of aggressive goats.
Noodles.
You don't know about this?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, if you got an
No.
aggressive
Why?
goat, you put pool noodles over the horns. And look it up online. A goat with pool noodles on the horns looks just like Twilight brain tails.
No way.
I'm telling you. And now I want to buy a goat just so I can do this.
So you can put
And-
pool noodles on the goat.
Yeah.
That's
All
funny.
right.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
what
so-
would you
yeah,
name
the brain tails.
goat?
So one thing though, one thing
Brain
before
tail.
we go into
Brain
the
tail.
character scene,
Okay.
I want to talk about the audiobook a little bit, because I've never heard the audiobook before. I've always read the book paperback, as you can tell. It's creased everywhere. But the audiobook is engaging as heck. The courtroom feels very real. I think that helped me digest that a lot better. But there's a scene in here, and I'm coming at the defense of Rick, because it seems like who is it? Who reads the book? Mark Thompson?
Mark
Yeah.
Thompson,
Yeah, he's on the same
Oh.
page as Rick, and I have
this
to
is
say,
the one-
so am I. This
This
a
is
little
the one that
surprise
I
here.
interviewed him about at Celebration.
Oh, you did?
Oh,
It
really?
was about the Krytos Trap, because it was already announced he was making this. It
Yeah.
was coming out soon, but wasn't out yet. It wasn't a brand new book that he couldn't talk about. It was this old Legends book. So I had the freedom to ask him about it. And I asked him what he thought about Corran Horn. And he was like,
That's
I
so
don't. All right.
blindsided
This
him
is
with
the
that one.
character thing. Are we going to talk about Corran Horn? Because I have some takes.
Just a second. What
Okay.
else about the audiobook there, Freddie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we all there was probably a YOUTINI meeting in. I could see all the 12 counselors sitting in their hover chairs saying, "Okay, Rick, you can't say moist anymore." But I don't know. I'd have to say there's a very nice read and a very nice long draw when we hear this in the book. I think we need to play
I
it. Rick.
just got to this today.
Check it out. All right, here we go. Give it a listen.
There we go.
I love how moist and bowels are in the same sentence.
The moist, moldy pipes.
Moldy pipes.
I heard that today, and I legit almost clipped it to play on the show. I kid you not. I thought, I've got to save this one for Rick. I'll get to it next week. And sure enough.
So we're
First
gonna
line
do-
out of the chapter.
So I was in the middle of doing a said squat earlier. I was in the middle of doing a squat, and I honestly I couldn't even go down. I had to rack everything back up because I was like, oh man, I'm sending this to Rick right now.
Oh, I'm so glad that we all thought of Rick when we got to that part.
I just want to say, I work out too, totally. Yeah. So.
Oh, yeah, Rick is the king of squats, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, now, I don't know if I officially gave my review, real briefly. I'm going to give it incredible, not quite masterpiece. I think it's the best of the X-Wing series. Probably right there alongside Wedge's Gamble. I love the way that it goes back and forth between these handful of different storylines, with on the one hand, Corran being imprisoned / brainwashed / flying a TIE fighter at one point. That's really fun to have alongside everything that's happening on Coruscant, trying to solve the mystery of how do we heal the people from the virus, which that's a whole can of worms on the other side of the pandemic we'll get to in a minute. And then that alongside the courtroom drama, really, I thought served as three really interesting pillars of the book, to where I didn't think one was more interesting than the other. A lot of times in a Star Wars book, you'll feel like there's one plot that you're really invested in, and the others are kind of like, okay, let's finish through this. We can get back to the plot that I'm interested in. I thought that all three of these carried equal weight, and it's really thought-provoking and also entertaining on the one hand. Equal parts interesting and relevant and engaging and suspenseful. You know, you don't really know exactly who the spy is the first time through. I didn't know. Freddie, you said you saw it coming. My first read through, I was iffy on whether or not I ever thought it was Tycho, but I thought it was M-Tray, the droid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same.
I thought so too.
I didn't think it was Irisi. So that one definitely was a big twist for me, and the first time through. So that plus the big, surprise at the end, and a lot of good threads in play here. This is some classic Legends stories, and you mentioned Top Gun earlier. I thought that the first book was very much a ripoff of Top Gun.
I could see that. I feel like the first book is like the first half of Top Gun, and Wedge's Gamble is like the second half with all the battles.
I thought that by this point, Stackpole had really found his own footing, though.
Yeah.
I think he had gotten beyond like that template of let's do Starfighter pilots and Top Gun. However, for most of this book, since I just saw like the new Top Gun movie this summer, I was really seeing a lot of Tom Cruise in Corran Horn.
Oh yeah,
Yes, totally.
I've never seen it before until I've just we watched both the Top Gun movies this summer, and I just kept seeing this pilot who like really thought that he was the center of the universe and could do no wrong, and was sexy and cocky, but like this unreliable narrator portion of all of it, and obsessed with his own trauma,
and his hair's always
dad.
moist.
Well, I mean, like in Top Gun, he's obsessed with his dad's legacy.
Yeah,
and
that's fair.
Anyway,
Somebody,
I did think that it had gotten to a new level, its own independent story by this point in. So
that's
incredible
fair.
for me. Go ahead, Rick.
good job.
Sorry, I was going to say, somebody on the internet pointed out how the Top Gun Maverick movie mirrors A New Hope quite a bit, because the obstacle of the movie is this sort of trench run to kill a superweapon and save the galaxy, and so I never considered that. It was on point, which is why I think everyone should try Star Wars if they haven't, because it's a universal story that they're going to love.
Yeah. And if a kid from Tatooine can save the world, so can you.
Also, I spent the entire time that I was watching Top Gun Maverick this summer pretending like I was watching an X-Wing book come to life. I mean, I spent every second of that movie. I was not seeing jets, I was seeing X-Wings. I mean, I just felt like I was in the thick of reading, like watching Rogue Squadron. Which then gets me wondering, are we ever going to see that Rogue Squadron movie?
We have to. If not, I'm making it
have
myself.
Seriously.
I've lost faith that Lucasfilm can announce a movie and then produce the movie.
We're getting Andor.
They can do it. They'll do it.
I've lost the TV shows have been different.
Yeah.
What they've announced, they've made. But with the movies, I've just they've got to win me back in terms of believing that I can trust.
Yeah.
What they say they're going to make is what they're going to make.
Yeah, I mean, you have to imagine, right? Like, I know this is totally off the beaten path, but I do need to say this. Trying to replicate George Lucas is not easy, and clearly it's going to take a lot of work. And they're getting there. And I think the shows have the budget and the time to do that, and to do that the way George did it. I think there's a reason why I feel like the mark may not have hit as hard, but at the same time, it's subjective. Yeah,
I mean, he took so much flack.
Yeah,
and now we're kind of coming back around and saying, maybe we were wrong.
Yeah,
and George Lucas was pretty good at movies.
Look at the Clone Wars, right? The Clone Wars cartoon. A lot of people hated it, and I'm pretty sure those same people probably love it now. And it takes a while to. It's like change, right? Change is very hard. Change is very hard to accept. And that's the same thing with Star Wars, in my opinion. And once we see it, we're just gonna love it. It is what it is.
I'd like to think that the movie's gonna happen. They've announced it. The trailer,
it has to.
Very cool. You got the roller skates and the jumpsuit and the X-wing. I mean, it's.
If it doesn't, I'm going to Rick's house. We're gonna get that helmet that he made. We're gonna make it ourselves.
Please get sleeveless Rick for this movie.
Sleeveless Rick.
Sleeveless Rick.
Hot dog, Boba Fett, naked Palpatine, and sleeveless Rick.
For sure. So those characters, not in this book. So let's talk about the characters who are. Emily, you were dying to say something about Corran Horn. What's your take on Corran Horn? Lead us off here. What was it that was just. You're really in the thick of it with Corran Horn right now.
I am. And I have to say, I came in biased because the only thing I ever knew about Corran Horn was how much Corey, our CEO, despised him. And I've just heard nothing but that. He did a Patreon exclusive where he got really drunk and read I, Jedi and just hated on this character forever. So that's all I knew. And so when we started reading this and it had Corran Horn in it, I just thought, I don't know about this guy. But I have to say, he is way more likable and believable, and you're on his side. You want him to do well. He's got this trauma that you feel bad for him, but he's also really good at what he does, so you respect him. And then there's this random fact that he is, oh, by the way, a Jedi. That is such a big twist that I don't know how I feel about that. I totally am on board with him being a pilot. Him being a Jedi is a big stretch, and I'm interested to see how it goes from here.
For sure. Yeah. And it goes places. It really does go some places.
It sure does.
In fact, he goes to Luke's Jedi Academy when his wife gets kidnapped. He's like, should I go save her? Better go to Jedi school first. But we'll get there. We'll get there. Wow. We've got to have Corey on for the iJedi episode, I think. There's no other option, is there?
No.
All right. The book opens with Corran Horn's funeral.
Mm-hmm.
The very first scene. There he is. Thumbs up to your own funeral, Corran. I love that as soon as I said Corran Horn's funeral, you pop him up giving a thumbs up. What a great moment. Yeah, Corey also would give a thumbs up to Corran Horn's funeral. Did y'all see the thing this week about the Corn Kid?
Oh, yeah. I love it.
Corn Kid, yeah.
We'll have to show this for next week's episode. The Corn Kid that's viral on TikTok who says, I love corn. Yeah. And it's got the juice, right? We had one of our team members photoshopped him onto the cover of iJedi. The lightsaber is corn. And then the book blurb on the front of the cover says, it got the juice.
I corn.
Yeah.
I corn.
So he said, Oz said, I went back and forth on what to name this. I could call it I Jedi. What about, his name is Corran Horn. You can turn that into corn in so many different variations.
Corn Horn.
Corny corn.
However, the book opens with Corran Horn's funeral.
Yes.
And people wax poetic about what a great man he was. And I'm like, did y'all read the first two books? What would you say at Corran Horn's funeral? What's your eulogy, your tribute to Corran Horn?
So, put yourself, before you answer this, whoever goes first, put yourself in the same spot as Wedge, right? Somebody who works with this guy on a daily basis. And the things that Corran would do to make sure that everybody comes home safe, and how much he cares about people, because he truly does, right? He's very what do you call it? A-type personality. He wants the fame and glory, of course, because he knows he's good. I guess that's what happens when you know you're good. You're just like, I deserve fame. But at the same time, who he really was, right? In this book, if he was your wingman, no matter what situation you got yourself in, you'd probably make it out. So maybe I'll go last, but everyone go first, and imagine that you are his co-pilot, or his just go with co-pilot.
Yeah, man, I'm having trouble saying something. And I like the character for the story arc.
Yeah.
Like the idea that he starts off as cocky and not trusting, and is more interested in getting the girls and being at the top of the charts than he is, really with doing the best thing for the squadron, and then eventually having to learn to trust and be respected, and to respect his other squadron mates. Oral Quirg, his wingman, is the first one to really develop a sense of trust with Corran. So, I might say something about how Oral, nobody else wanted to give Oral a chance. He was weird, he was odd, and yet Corran saw something in him, and that was a beautiful thing. Corran saw nothing in anybody but himself until he befriended the weirdest guy on the squadron. That's a great tribute to a man. It was either that or nobody rubs that medallion quite like Corran Horn.
Oh my gosh.
Dang it, Jared, that was mine. Here we go.
Y'all,
You ruined it, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Go, Rick.
If only Corran had rubbed his medallion one more time, he might still be with us.
Please put that in the YouTube video. Oh my gosh. That's fantastic.
Okay. You can't follow that. I'm not even going to say it. Rick got it.
He did.
100%.
I'm glad this isn't Corran's funeral, though, because he still has a ways to go with his character progression.
Yeah.
He's not gotten there yet, and so maybe by the time I finish the book, I'll find out. Freddie, what you got to say?
Well, Corran Horn, the dude loves the ladies, that's for sure. He really does. And he was the what would you call him? The jock, right? He had the Letterman's jacket, knew he was hot stuff, walked around with his shoulders swaying from side to side. But at the end of the day, when it came to business, like he really, he switched on that mode, and whatever it took, he's almost like chaotic good. Whatever it took to complete the mission, no matter the cost, and if he has to put himself in danger, he's absolutely going to do it. But he loves himself, he loves the ladies, and we love Corran Horn.
There you go. Beautiful, perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no one can beat Rick.
That
was a good one.
It's great that we open up with the funeral, and yet find out the very next scene that he's not dead. He was strapped naked to a chair by his Sonny Isard, and is now brainwashed. In fact, it's like another one of those misdirection moments. He's flying a TIE fighter, and then the end of the chapter. Rogue Squadron loves to do this. This series, how many times does the series do this, where there's a whole space battle, and then one of the main characters dies, and then they get out of the cockpit of the training simulator?
Not today,
Satan. I think it's in every single one of these books, isn't it?
Yeah, it has to be.
I feel like it.
Definitely. So we've got Corran Horn's funeral here, and Emily, you had the idea for this question, and maybe I've got to get deeper in the book to have a great answer here. But you said, which of Corran's father's figures do you think had the biggest impact on him? First of all, what inspired the question, and then what's your pick?
Well, I think it's very clear that he has some issues with his father. It comes up repeatedly. That's one of the reasons why the medallion is so important to him. He loses his father early on, and he holds him as he dies. So it's clearly a moment of trauma. And he has this medallion that he holds, and it's very important to him. It's his good luck charm. And then it turns out it's like a Jedi symbol, and it turns out his dad was a Jedi. But he has other father figures in the books. So there's Wedge, obviously, who's looking out for his best interests, and Corran really respects him. And then there's Tycho, who has a really complicated relationship with Corran, because Corran just trusts him implicitly, and then that's just ripped out from under him. So it's sort of like losing his father again. So I just wondered, it just seems to me that like he keeps looking for his father in the men around him, and I wondered what you guys thought about his father issues.
That's a good point, right? It definitely mentions his father's death many times in this book. Kind of just drills it into your head that this was a traumatic experience, and I'm pretty sure maybe it was Bosk. I don't remember. It was.
I just
Bosk,
read
right?
that today. Yeah. I was like, oh wait, hold up. Did I forget the fact that Bosk murdered his father?
I did until I read it. I was like, what? So cool to have that kind of intertwined.
That's the most Legendsy thing ever, that Bosk murdered Corran Horn's father.
Totally. Very, very much so.
F's in the chat to Hal Horn.
Yeah. What happened is when his father passed, I think he was like, oh man, I was such a butt to you, Dad. And I wasn't the son I should have been. And I feel like Wedge is the father figure that Corran had probably hoped for. Someone who was like, I know you're good, let's get better. Somebody like that instead of however his father was. And then, of course, when you go to Tycho, his relationship comes from, I think what happens is Corran's natural detective attitude comes out and is very skeptical of him. So he's just ready for something to prove him wrong so that he can, I think he has a hard time trusting people, but it's clear when he can, right? And someone like Wedge, you can absolutely trust the leader of Rogue Squadron to have your back. So, yeah, that's a great point. I never really truly thought about that, Emily. His father's figures.
I was just so distracted this time around. Maybe the world has changed me, and I can no longer experience these books the way I did, 8 years ago. The last read through I did. I'm just distracted by the misogyny of it all. And I'm like, why doesn't it matter who the women in his life are other than the ones he wants to hook up with? And he's derogatory toward them. There's this line that he thinks that Irisi is prettier than Mirax, but that Mirax is a better person. Yeah. And it grates me, and I'm like, it's very 90s, and it's lacking, and I love the books. I really do. This one thing is driving me insane. Why aren't we talking about his mom? Why isn't she nearly as significant as his grandmother?
An excellent point. His mom should have been in the book.
Yeah.
It's the daddy issue thing. However, I do think that the Squadron has a better, pretty good representation of men and women. I don't want to say it's perfect, but a fairly diverse, both across, gender and different types of aliens. It's a diverse squadron. So that was going for it. So there we go. Say 10 nice things for every one negative thing, right? That's what I was taught in my counseling classes.
I also think that it kind of, you definitely see him as a flawed character. It's clear that he's had trauma has happened to him, and he's working through it. And it's very much what's going on in his head. Like, it's not things that he's saying out loud. It's just the honest thoughts that just happen to occur in his head. And we all have them. It's what you do with those thoughts that really counts. And so I think that, it definitely kind of, it doesn't age as well as other books in the Star Wars universe. But I don't think it's as bad as I thought it was based on Corey's response. And I haven't read iJedi, so it could get worse. But in this particular book, I thought it was just very honest. I definitely think that the debate between Irisi and Mirax, it's interesting.
I love him more.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like we've all had to choose at some point between two people where there might be more attraction to one part of that person than the other, and the
Rick.
Pros and cons
Rick's
list.
shaking his head.
I was the one that was chosen,
Yes.
or not chosen.
Go, Rick.
That's my experience.
Wait,
and
which one, Rick?
I was the not chosen. Yeah.
Oh no, Rick!
Hit TV
Rip,
series
stab,
coming out next year. The not chosen.
You're married and you have kids, so everything
The
turned
not
out
chosen. It did. Yes. Jess and I both were. We got together on rebounds from bad relationships that crashed and burned.
And now she's locked in the bedroom with the kids and the puppy. While we do our Star Wars podcast.
Voluntarily, she's not held against her will.
Voluntarily,
that's
the real important point to emphasize here. Voluntarily, not like Corran at the end of Wedge's gamble.
Yes.
Strapped to a chair.
Good times. Good times.
This is a great question. The father figure. I'm going to give my answer as Booster Tarek, who's somebody who's just kind of on the on the fringes of Corran's life at this point. Booster ends up having a great, kind of back and forth, interesting relationship with Corran, and as the series progresses, and then Legends in general, the New Jedi Order and beyond, Booster becomes a much bigger player. He and Corran hate each other. Hal Horn arrested Booster Tarek, right? Isn't that the thing? Mm-hmm. So Corran's father arrested Mirax's pirate dad, and then the dad becomes, the father-in-law, and he drives a candy apple red casino Star Destroyer and doesn't take crap from nobody.
It's got some, in the back where the engines are at, it's actually giant subwoofers.
I thought you were going to say like those trucks that are on lifts.
Oh, yeah, that too. It's lifted.
It's
lifted.
How does that?
Candy apple red Star Destroyer.
Oh my
It flies at a list, just kind of.
Yeah.
They see me.
One of the repulsor lists is out.
No. It's a choice. It's a choice.
Booster Tarek, that's my answer. He's the person that Corran writes off, and he writes off Corran, and they have to learn to respect each other. It's a beautiful thing.
I guess I don't really understand the question because I never really thought much about Corran's father's figure. I thought it was just skinny, but I don't know.
Jared
I
just
literally
did a spit take.
That was a legitimate spit take. There is mist all over my office. I'm legitimately thankful my computer did not just spritz out the amount of moisture that just landed on it.
Gosh,
fantastic.
y'all.
Moving on. I kind of had a bone to pick with the Jedi heritage plot line. This time through, I didn't my first time through. Emily's, I can just see the disgust on her face as I say
eye
this.
rolled. For those who are not watching, there was.
We can take opposite camps on this.
The biggest eye roll.
Respectfully.
Yeah,
the big eye roll. Does Corran's Jedi heritage character arc enhance or detract from the uniqueness of his character to you? One of the selling points for the series is that it's a series without lightsabers.
Yeah.
This was groundbreaking for Star Wars in the early 90s to have a series that's about X-Wing pilots, not about Jedi, not about Sith Lords. And then it was a backdoor Jedi story.
Yeah.
I do think that it has its merits, however, it kind of undercuts the selling point for the entire series in the first place. But Emily, you feel differently.
So I loved every part of this book until the Jedi heritage. And I just think it is so unnecessary. Like, Corran has so much else going for him. Pick anyone else. He is too flashy, too good. And the only time I really saw, the only time I saw that it was leading that way is when he's hiding from the stormtroopers and he's in the cabinets and he's using a Jedi mind trick to bend the stormtroopers away from him. Doesn't know what he's doing. But the fact that he ends up being descended from Jedi and then also denies training to be a Jedi is just really confusing. It would have to make sense in the next books for me to get behind this. Right now, it just seems really like I was on board with the Star Destroyer being implanted in Coruscant, and it just
that was crazy.
You're willing to go at that point.
Yes, I'm that seems feasible. But for some reason, Corran being a Jedi, nah.
Okay, so you were in agreement with me that this was not.
Yes.
The eye roll I thought was toward me not liking it.
No,
but,
I
that's
agree
my own
with you.
insecurities projecting. Apparently, I'll go to therapy for that one tomorrow and have it all solved by next week on Legends Look Back. But okay, so you're a little bit with me. I do see. I'm of mixed opinion about this. I really am. I think that Corran ends up becoming an interesting Jedi character for the trajectory of Legends. I love his story in the books 2 and 3 of the New Jedi Order. What are those books called? They're, the books 2 and 3.
Those books, yeah.
Dark Tide, Ruin, and the Dark Tide duology, yeah. So it's a very interesting story arc in terms of, starting off as this cocky pilot and then becoming a Jedi who isn't as cocky. We'll say that much. So,
I'll
but
say
it's imperfect. Go ahead, Rick.
Sorry, I keep cutting you off today. My bad. I think it's not my favorite thing.
Onslaught. That's the other one. Onslaught.
Oh, there it is. It's, I don't know. Yeah, you're totally right that Corran's got too much going on, that it's unnecessary. But that being said, I can see, looking back throughout the series so far, how the Force has been with him, in some capacity. The reason he's such a good pilot is because of the Force. And that's, the same characteristic we see in Anakin and in Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Not that they're related, thankfully. That would be too much if they were like, yeah, and he's also a Skywalker. It's Luke's cousin, But I think that it fits. I don't hate it. But yeah, it's I can see why there's debate for sure.
Freddie?
Okay. Let's pretend Corran is a piece of corn. All right. And this book was like that corn with butter all over it. And, a nice scene comes on. You're like, ooh, a little bit of paprika? Okay. I see where we're going. And then another cool thing's happen. You're like, oh, okay, I'm really digging this Corran Horn guy. We've got butter. We've got paprika. We've got Parmesan now, right? And it's like working. It's working so far. And then someone busts out this can, and we're like, what is this can? It's a can of Pam, and they spray the corn with it. You're like, okay, that was too much. That's how I feel.
I felt that way as soon as you got past butter. As soon as you put anything else on your corn, it's ruined.
That was the most delicious analogy ever.
That was wonderful. That was a full picture. I totally I agree. I understand.
I feel like I need to floss after that analogy. Well, so yeah, it is a bit much, but it adds that extra little bit of flavor for the series, which otherwise is just all X-wings all the time, and
it's juicy.
I gotta say, if I had been reading this book and I didn't know that there were more coming after, and I didn't already have them recommended to me, I would put this book down right now and be like, oh no, that was too much.
I feel like it should have happened later on.
Done.
In the books. Like, by the way, the reason why you might have been, not so early on in the series, where there's still a lot.
My hot take with this is that I think that the Rogue Squadron story should have been a trilogy, and so we get to book 4. We'll get there, but I do think that this could have, if it just had a little bit more finality to it. Of course, I'm not at the end yet, so we'll see. I think it works really well as a trilogy. I think that 4 books ends up being stretched out a little bit much, but the Jedi arc. What's especially great is that his lightsaber gets longer when you twist it.
Oh dear.
It is. It's a thing. All right.
Yeah. So
moving on.
In defense, though, let me say this. Let me end cap it a little bit here with Corran Horn. I feel like Corran's character development and his arc, actually, I enjoy it. I like to see where he goes. The whole academy and that retcon. It's fun. But I feel like in the series, it should have happened maybe a little later. I think that's my biggest thing.
It does kind of feel really sudden. Like it should
Right.
have been. It could have been woven in better. Like there could have been more hints. I feel like there was an opportunity here that it could have been really cool.
Totally.
And just at the end of a book with so many amazing plot twists, that was just a little bit overkill.
And there comes the Pam. Why?
Speaking of overkill, all right, here's some overkill for you. Admiral Akbar. Yeah, shout out to Mark Thompson for his spectacular Admiral Akbar.
He did such a wonderful job.
It is. I wish now at Celebration I had him do. This was my original plan, and I chickened out. I want to have flashcards.
Okay.
And I premeditated all this, and I didn't execute. I wanted to have flashcards with characters that he's done from Legends books. And I wanted to show him a flashcard, read the name, and see if he could just instantly do the voice. Just boom, 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 boom.
Cool.
One of them being Admiral Akbar. It is a fantastic job with this voice. And I think there's a lot about Legends Akbar that's great. The big difference being that instead of, being raised, you got the King Lichar thing from the Clone Wars, and you got the Clone Wars with the Sharks and the Corrans. Instead, in Legends, Akbar's origin is he was a slave to Grand Moff Tarkin. Mm-hmm. And so he learned strategy at the feet of Tarkin. And it's a really interesting wrinkle. And then he ends up, leading his people to overthrow the Empire, the very people who had enslaved them. I mean, it really is great. However, are you ready for this? We've got a dramatic reading. In chapter 11, there are no fewer than 3 water puns in 2 pages.
Nice.
In the Rogue Squadron books, Admiral Akbar speaks almost exclusively in water puns. Did you guys catch on to this?
Yes.
There's a lot of them,
but I didn't count them.
Okay,
There's a lot
here
of
we
them.
go. Admiral Akbar sat back in his council chair and tried to pull serenity from the cool mist drifting over him. Where's the, I had it. I lost it. Where's the, come on. The very first sentence had like a water pun, didn't it? There was the cool mist, but those were the ones that help hydrate his skin. Am I in the right chapter here?
We're just going to let you flounder.
Let me just drown here. Somebody throw me a life preserver as I look for this quote. I had it.
Which part is it? Like right at the beginning of the book?
There's 3. Yeah, there's one at the beginning of the chapter. Oh, here it is. Okay. Tarkin had given no evidence of finding political fights frustrating because of the posturing and the treacherous riptide shifts of allegiances. Bing, there's one. Okay. Number 2. Next page. This is page 88 of the Essential Legends collection if you're following along at home. I know he's got another top of the page. I spent so much time in this episode marking these. Here we go. Admiral Akbar leaned forward. Forgive me for the interruption, Counselor Failure. All right, I'm not going to do the impression. But it strikes me that you were asking us to deal with the undertow before the wave has crested.
There you go.
I remember that one.
All right. And number 3. Trouble is a vast ocean. And for us, back to distribution is the issue lurking in the depths.
I did notice
Trouble
that.
is a vast ocean.
Do you think when at this point is he still an admiral?
Oh yeah,
he's still an admiral. Okay. Do you think every time he starts his ship, I mean, he's got to say something, right? Do you think he goes ahoy? What do you think he says?
Yeah, I'll say this: when you're aspiring writers out there, as you're writing for Admiral Akbar, if you're tempted to write every other sentence as a water-based pun, here's my words of advice. Ready? My words of wisdom? It's a trap. All right? It's a trap. You don't have to give in. All right. My work here is done. That'll do it for tonight's episode.
If you'd like alternative suggestions, I would say
do it. There we go. Well, all right. How about one more character, and we will wrap it up. We talked about Corran, a little bit of nod on the one hand, positively, to the fact that Akbar is better in Legends than in canon. There he is.
Oh yeah, there's Akbar.
You heard it here first, folks. Love his Legends origin story. It's fantastic, minus the water puns, which are a bit. Well, we're drowning in the water puns. We'll say that much. Let's talk about Tycho here for a second before we wrap up the episode. Were you at any point uncertain of Tycho's loyalties?
No.
My first read through, I was very doubtful that he was a sleeper agent. However, I was a little not convinced. I was always a little bit on edge.
So there's a big dent in my book here because I'll never forget the first time I found out who the traitor was. I threw it because I was like, I knew it this entire time. Called it. That's how I felt. I knew Tycho was fine, and I knew that Emtray was a red herring. Something about all of the misfortunes, everything that was happening. I kept thinking to myself, who is there? Who is there? And why would Bror Jace just get annihilated, right? Why would that happen? Out of all people. And it has to be the person that would hate him the most, in my opinion. And that was only one character. So that's how I felt.
From Thyfera.
Yeah,
okay, that makes sense.
There, you can see
We're going to call that the scar, the scar of illumination.
Ooh.
The scar of enlightenment.
Wow.
Nice.
What's a better
Very
term?
elegant.
Yeah. Okay.
The bruise of betrayal.
Bror's bruise. There we
Bror's
go.
bruise of betrayal.
There. Very good. Okay. I love that Freddy's book is a show and tell. Like, it's got a battle scar.
Seriously, that is so good. Like, I love that story.
After the show, we're going to find out that actually he just bought that at Thrift Books yesterday.
Right here.
And made that up.
Thrift Books.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my goodness.
Look at this one.
That
Hold on,
is
check
my
this one
bruise
out.
of betrayal.
Many times
Nice.
read Jurassic Park.
Oh.
I love
That's not a
mine.
I
Legends
thought that
book.
was
Get that off my
Truce of
podcast.
Bakura.
It's got dinosaurs.
What? Whoa! Is it Truce of Bakura on one side and Jurassic Park on the other? What just happened?
No, he did a little off camera. Fantastic. That one's missing the handshake. Non-canonical. Yep. All right. Were you at any point uncertain of Tycho's loyalties, Emily?
Yes, the whole time. So here I had come into this not having read Rogue Squadron for a while, and then I hadn't read Wedge's Gamble. So the first time I started reading, Corran was dead out of nowhere, and I just thought, what just happened? And then they were so certain, like there was so much evidence pointing to Tycho, and I just thought, oh my gosh, she got him. Like there's no way, like he's guilty for sure. And then I was like, man, Wedge is so convinced that he is innocent. And Corran was like, he full on admitted, like when we find out he's not dead, he was like, yeah, it was Tycho. It was 100% Tycho. Like he was the betrayer. And like I was in disbelief up until like the very, very end. And it was a wonderful, like it kept me reading. It was really exciting because I just didn't know what was going to happen.
There's just no way he could be guilty. No way.
Oh.
My problem is
There's no way you could kill Corran, and they did it.
I didn't read the entirety of the X-Wing series before I read the New Jedi Order. I had listened to the abridged audiobooks as a kid. And then when I was doing my New Jedi Order read, like the lead up to the read through of New Jedi Order about 10 years ago, I did not read, all 10 books of the X-Wing series. I was just trying to get to the meat of it all. In that series, Wedge and Tycho have a great bromance as adults. They're like retired, hanging out, them and their wives, and they come out of retirement and they're like, all right, buddy, one last ride. And so they've got this sweet friendship as adults. I mean, they're already adults here, but as old farts. Let's just say it. All right, let's come out and say it. They're old farts. And so I went into this series knowing, Tycho's a good boy.
You knew.
However, it strings you along. I mean, it still made me doubt. I was like, I don't know how he's going to get out of this.
So that's the thing, right?
Rick, go ahead, Freddie.
I was going to say, that's the thing is even if you know who's the traitor, like I did, because it's just the paintings everywhere, right? It's all leading towards her, but it's still like, no.
We get it. You're so smart. You knew it. And we didn't.
There's just little things that happen that you're like, okay, I see where this is going. And then when it confirms it, you're like, yeah, I get it. But what happens is he's innocent, and it makes like the court case and everything just so much more anxiety ridden. But Rick, go ahead. I don't want to take your spot because there's a lot of good stuff here.
So okay, this is one of those characters where I had read about or watched a video or like knew facts about, but I wasn't sure if I had it right in my head. And so I'm doubting myself, like, he's a good guy, right? Like, this is not real, right? And kept on like thinking I know what's real and then doubting it, because it did a good job kind of casting some suspicion and making it believable, where I couldn't even, like, even though I spoiled it for myself, I couldn't remember if I was remembering the truth or not. Mm-hmm. And so that was really interesting. So yeah, there was definitely some doubt, but I was rooting for him to be a good guy. How about that?
I love that you even had to message us and say, hey, by the way, can I name my dog Tycho, or is he actually a bad guy?
Yeah.
Name your
It's
dog
true.
Irisi.
Yeah, there you go.
That's fantastic. Well, we talked about, his loyalties. Were you ever doubtful whether or not he was going to make it out of the court case? That was
I did
really
doubt
tense.
that, for
I
sure.
wasn't sure how Noir Ben was going to pull out of his brain tails, but he did.
Yeah. Thankfully, Noara Ben wasn't representing him. That guy's a joke.
Noara Ben
My client
would have
is
betrayed
guilty.
him. That's right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it is a great court case. I think Noara Ben is an absolute standout character. You've heard, the first book or two that Noara Ben is a lawyer. You're like, okay, great little interesting tidbit there. Then he actually has to be a lawyer. And it really does. It pays off in a fantastic way.
It's like, I'm a fighter pilot who moonlights as a lawyer. Like, what? How does that? What?
I mean, Rogue Squadron is just
Jedi.
full of...
They could be like back to Queens. They can be whatever.
Yeah.
Back to Queens.
Smugglers.
That's the
back
thing,
to
right?
Queens.
It's Rogue Squadron. It's like the best of the best. You have to imagine that the people that they're hiring know that they're the best. Just like Corran. Too much pan.
Well, I'm going to give my shout out there. They've got all these characters. Emily said it how many times on the show tonight. There's so many characters. Out of all the characters here in X-Wing, the Krytos Trap, Book 3 of the Rogue Squadron series, man, these books have such long titles. All right, which one of the kind of, sideline ancillary characters do you want to give a quick shout out to before we call it a night? I love Noara Vin. He's always been one of my favorite rogues. Braintail jokes aside.
You and I agree to that one. I know that for sure. He's just extremely respectable. He's really into his girlfriend, and they're obviously dating and love each other and stuff like that. At least that's what I gather. But the character that really shines for me in this book is, I can't remember her name. I should get the book, figure this out.
I'll turn to my dramatis personae.
Yeah, let's.
Asir?
The Bothan, exactly.
Yeah.
Because she really proved herself, even though she didn't do it via flying any certain thing. What she did was, in case I die, I have this report. You can do anything with it. I have no allegiance to the Bothans. I have allegiance to my squad mates, and that was huge to me. And it's like
that's beautiful.
It's one of the most minor characters in my opinion. Is it Asir Salar?
Yeah, Sylar.
Sylar. Anyway, yeah, her. Big shout out to her. Minor character, but just showing what it takes to be in this group and the kind of people that they attract, and the kind of leader that Wedge is, shows in everybody, and it's very. We have a traitor on one side, and we almost had another one, we thought, until, she flipped that around. So, congrats.
Yeah.
Excellent pick. Rick?
I think, was it Derricote who's in the prison in Lusankia as well?
Yeah.
That was a really fun character in this book. I mean, he's a bad guy, and he has a nice ending. He finds his nice demise, but I don't know. It was entertaining just how, almost goofy how evil he was, and, his thoughts and stuff. And so it just was really fun seeing him in a prison, because even the bad guy doesn't get ahead, and then the way he gets caught-ish. Was fun.
Yeah, I can't wait to finish the book and find out what you're talking about. I know who the character is. I just don't remember what happens to him. So we'll know next week. Emily, who's your pick of one more character to give a shout out to?
Gosh, there's so many. Ayala is probably my favorite. Or not my favorite, but she definitely gets a shout out. I thought that the complicated love story between her and Wedge and her long lost husband turned sleeper agent who she has to kill.
Oh, it's so complicated.
Is
yeah.
I mean, in some respects, I just like it. It's kind of like an older love story that's more complex. It's not just two young people who meet and fall in love and that's it. That's that. It's they
met in college.
Yeah, it's sort of it's a love story interrupted, and it's. I thought very pure, very noble, dutiful, and in the end, Wedge still has a chance, which is also kind of good. I don't know.
I like that it's not resolved too quickly.
Yeah.
It comes back around in Starfighters of Adamar.
Okay.
That love story comes back around. Emily, have you read the Aftermath trilogy in canon?
I started to. But I might have to go back.
They're very controversial. I'll say this much, okay? This happens again. This is not the first time.
I didn't realize that. You're right.
This is not the first time that Wedge falls in love with a woman when her dead husband comes back from the dead.
And is a sleeper agent.
No. So I don't know if there's any explanation for this other than the fact that Chuck Wendig, I don't want to say ripped this off. I'll be more generous and say paid homage to this story.
Oh.
A little head nod to the weirdest thing that happens in this entire 10-book saga.
It's
but
a little
Wedge, a real ladies' man, Wedge, only has a thing. He's got a type. We'll say this much for Wedge. He's got a type. Women whose husbands come back.
The married type.
No, it's more specific than that. Women whose husbands come back from the dead and become Imperial sleeper agents.
There you go.
Oh, man. I will say Wedge as a stepdad is awesome. I love that from Aftermath.
Get that canon stuff out of here. All right, let's close out our Legends show tonight. I do think that there's plenty of redemptive stuff in that series, but that one, it's uncanny, absolutely uncanny.
It is.
Well,
Man,
come back next week for part 2 of our Krytos Trap Roundtable as we're discussing topics including anti-speciesism, if that's a word. Google doesn't think it is. Partisan politics, misinformation, and Corran Horn's ego. That does it for this week. Thank you for joining us here for Legends Look Back. Thank you to our incredible patrons for your support. A special thank you to Brian Dooley, Earl Q, Patrick Ortiz, and Carl Sander on the Jedi High Council, as well as Elizabeth Cloutier, Sally Eilerson, and Chris Eilerson on the Alliance High Command. Remember to sub to the channel and leave us a review in your podcast platform of choice. If you would like your thoughts read on the air, you can, of course, find our contact information in the description, whether you're listening on audio or watching on YouTube. And, of course, we're on Twitter at Legends Look Back as well. If you're looking to buy some of these books and want to help support the show, look up a book on YOUTINI, click the Amazon link in the profile, click, and you can leave a review after that. Remember, as you enjoy your books, read your books, find out that your partner's ex-husband is back from the dead and is an Imperial sleeper agent, whatever the case may be, remember to keep the YOUTINI fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. May the Force be with you.
This is a YOUTINI broadcast.